Hey guys, it's me Rebecca. So I'm currently editing the vlog you're currently watching, and I realized I never filmed an intro clip. Or if I did, I must have accidentally deleted because it's not on my camera, it's definitely not on my computer. So yeah. But in this vlog, I do finish two books. I finished Gingerbread by Helen Oriami, which I started at the end of my last vlog, and I also read The Trifle Code by Janice Hallett. So yeah, I'm gonna start to intro the vlog and now on to the rest of the video. So it's the next day and it's been quite a productive day. I've just done some cleaning and whatnot, did a couple loads of laundry, and yeah, and I was gonna go for a bit of a walk, but it is bit windy outside, a bit chilly for this older day, so decided not to. And I did do some reading of Gingerbread, and I'm on page 160, and I'm gonna do some more reading today. I just wanted to start this vlog and kind of get this clip kind of out of the way so I could just really read some more today. I don't know, it is what it is, but so far I'm just feeling about it. Like I don't know if I'm liking it or not. Like I just feel meh about it. Like it's just fine. Like I just don't feel really anything about it. Like it feels like we're really being told the story of this girl getting out of this country and really trying to make something of her life. Like, and really think the people she's around. Like with this, we see the life of the farm girls at the gingerbread place and how they are now known as gingerbread girls. And they do work in a factory of sorts, but it seems like it's more of an amusement thing, where it's like for older people. Like it's not amusement rights or anything, it's just putting on this facade for older people. Like we see how like the girls are separated into teams. Like one team is responsible for bacon and gingerbread, another is responsible for amusing the people at the park, and so it's like responsible for almost rewriting history to feature gingerbread. And with some of it felt a bit, with the way the older adults behaved, it felt like they were predators, like trying to catch these extremely young girls, and as well like kind of being predators towards them in a creepy sense. Like they're supposed to like play a game of chase and and amuse these adults who want to relive their childhood, or if they had a negative poor childhood experience, kind of like get a new experience. And it's like a bit weird in the sense like these are grown as adults chasing these young girls who are like 15, 16 years old, so this left a weird taste in my mouth. And you see like how they don't trust their benefactor, this woman named Cleo, in the sense like they know like someone's been forging letters from their families trying to prevent these girls from running away or going back to their home life or going back to the farm before they, I guess, retire. And so it's caused them not to write letters, and they do get wages for their like work. But Harriet, when she's out in the city later on in the novel, learns that the money they're being paid, it's not real money, it's like fake money of some sort. So it's like, and Cleo's like, oh, I was gonna give you these wages, I was, when you retired and that, but I'm like, were you? So it's just a bit odd to me. And we see Cleo's daughter Gretchen, who the same Gretchen as earlier, she wants Harriet around and whatnot, and we see how the two girls, like, they plot a plan to leave Strana, and they like create plans on like where to go and whatnot, And Harriet, she's given this opportunity by her mother, who is like distant relative to Neve Charleston, with the father will stay behind and stay with the woman everyone thinks he should have married instead of Harriet's mother. And yeah, Harriet and Margot go to England to live with these distant cousins, and really we're just learning about each family member through Harriet's ranking of them, from like her favorite to the, I guess, least favorite. And we just see like the house they live in, how it's like quite interesting in the sense like the floors and rooms, like they kind of change through what's the most convenient for the patriarch of the house. Like you would think one room is in one area of the house, yeah, and the next day. And yeah, sorry for that interruption. I had to help my mother with something, but as I was saying, I think with the fact, like, I mean, it's not like this house is alive, it's controlled by machinery, but we just see Harriet and Margot kind of like deal with this family, and we see the dynamic with the family, how one person outwardly he acts like nothing affects him, he acts cool and whatnot, but when no one's around he not behaves differently, but he holds on to a lot of things. Like his ex-wife, like when she left him, he acted like he was cool with her, like, oh, that's cool, but he has a room stashed for he has a room like that's full of presents for her. And with one son, like everyone has to kind of walk on eggshells around him, kind of downplay their achievements so he doesn't get upset, while another son like is upset with the fact his own prospects, his own independent, like he's not allowed to have, he has to work for this family company. So there is that, and we see like with Harriet, she's still in touch with her friends from the gingerbread farm, who these carrier pigeons that someone on the farm had until they retired. And weirdly, like, Harriet doesn't question this at all, but one of the sons, Remy, he gives her letters that were written to her from Gretel, and it's like, where did these letters come from, and why does he have them? Like, that's a bit odd. Yeah, it's like this Gretel kind of like having weird dreams, like where they went against some sort of unwritten law and they all got in trouble. And yeah, no, Harriet is kind of interested in getting Gretel out of there and trying to reunite with Gretel, but Harriet's not sure about that. So yeah, like, so far I'm just feeling meh about this because I'm not sure, like, it does seem like Harriet is recounting her life to oh my god, Peridot, there we are. Well, like, Peridot's just sitting there silent because she cannot talk after what she did. And as well, there are these dolls that Peridot has had that are very much alive, and I guess I'm just very much interested in these dolls and like where they came from and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So I'll see you. So it's the next day and it's been quite a long day and I am quite tired. But today before I left, I did do some reading of... 1 minute, sorry, I'm trying to open my note pen. Anyway, I did do some reading and I did finish Gingerbread by Helen Oyami. And overall, I'm just giving this 3 stars. Like, I just wish we were given some explanations over exactly how, I guess, this gingerbread's supposed to be taking you to Drana. And as well, the ending was quite open. Like, we see Gretel and Harriet on their way to reunite, but we don't really get that scene, and I kind of wish we did get that scene. But yeah, and there's some stuff that I did, like, we learned earlier that the patriarch of the family, my name members, he did try to teach his son the language of this land, and the son was like, "Dad, are you sure this isn't this way of you trying to like do some father and son bonding?" And on pain and the patriarch, like, he started to believe these claims, and he did meet people who claimed to be from this place, but they actually were not. There was a quote on page 161 that I like that's like, "They all turned out to be people whose Danilism was a non-violent product of their annihilation from every society currently known to them." These people are outsiders. They're outcast from society. That's like, they just want feel like they belong somewhere. And the way it was phrased, like, it should have had a bigger impact, but it kind of felt like a throwaway line. But we kind of do see how Harriet and Perdita, they are almost like outsiders in this society. Like, they don't really blend in. Like, they are forgotten about. And I like that. And I also like, so Harriet and Margot, they're like, what exactly is this family business? And they are given like quite obscure answers, and the reviews online are quite obscure, not very descriptive. And with some of the language used like on describing the business, and really from both the reviews and the owners, Harriet and Margot think that Ambrose is a hitman, or the entire family are like hitman, and they're like, we are leaving, like, we don't want part of this, like, no. And it turns out they're in a way bankers, or people who help witch people become even witcher, essentially. Like, it's the whole plot and whatnot. And Harriet learns this when Ambrose, he approaches her and has her do a job for him that he'll pay. And she has to deliver one of his gifts every day to his ex-wife, and if she's not there, deliver 2 gifts the next day, and on and so forth. Like, it's like, the ex-wife is like, what the hell am I supposed to do with these gifts? Because the return window's like waiting out. So yeah, and yeah, I enjoyed that. And we see how Harry and Margot, they do struggle a bit. Like, they, with the fact like they no longer have Ambrose's influence, and really he gets his reference. And Margot does struggle to get a job, and they only are able to have one extremely big meal a day. And we see how Margot at one point is working 3 jobs, and before she works again a career as like what seems like to be an interior designer, like making people fall in love with their homes and making it difficult to leave them. And one of the jobs Margot did have was at this antique store, and Harriet, if Margot had to be out on one of her other jobs, Harriet would help out and cover her shift and whatnot. And one day, Gabriel, the son, he walks in, and it turns out Harriet had a bit of a drinking issue, in the sense like there were 2 times she got drunk, left about 40 messages of missed calls and whatnot on his phone 2 times. Her drunken self deleted the evidence to protect her sober self, and yeah, it was just a bit hilarious. And we see how Harriet and Gabriel have all kind of started a relationship that's not the best. And Harriet falls pregnant, and she and Gabriel both tell one another they don't want kids, and it seems like she has told Margot she does want kids. So we see how she's scheduled appointments and missed them to have an abortion. And Gabriel, when she misses another appointment, he becomes a bit aggressive, and Harriet calls Remy, the cousin, to help and to help her deal with that. And yeah, we see she doesn't have an abortion, even for, in a way, she's kind of, the rest of the family try to encourage it. Like, it has definitely affected the relationship with a lot of the family. And yeah, and then Perda, she does tell her own story, like why she wanted to find Gretel. Like, it was supposed to be a gift for Harriet on her 35th birthday. Like, when Perda lied about Canterbury, she did go to that house where it seems like Ari and Tamar, two members of the family, were there, and for some reason lied about their identities with one saying their Hanzo del Regueto, and yeah. And it seems like they're trying to give Perda this package of white powder, and they're like, oh, this will take you to John Stana. Like, that's suspicious as hell. But yeah, they keep switching the powders back and forth. Like, here, take this one, no, take this one. Like, it's one is powder trigger, and another is like, we don't know, but it seems like with the way Tamar was, it seemed like she was trying to poison Perda, so yeah. And yeah, we see the family come together for family come back together with Perda and Harriet and Margot, and they're pulled into this yearly charity thing that the family does. And this year it's like taking these houses and giving them to people who are extremely in need, essentially, and their job is to make sure like everything is good with the houses, because there are a lot of rumors with the houses, in the sense like one is haunted because a mother and daughter were psychopaths and tortured a family there. Another's on this island and whatnot. Like, we just see that, and we see how each house is a missed opportunity for Watto and Harriet to reunite, and the book ends with the last house being when they reunite. So yeah, that's when the book ends, and there's a whole new narrator, or the person telling the story steps in, which yeah, but overall my feelings about this is like, this book was just fine for me. Like, I don't think it was a bad book. I just felt meh about it. So yeah, 3 stars, and I think tomorrow I will discuss what I'll be reading next, because I am tired. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So I'll see you. So it's the next day, and so far I've just done some cleaning, some work, and whatnot. And I did do some reading. I started the Twyford Code by Janice Hallett, and this is about 40 years ago. Stephen Smith found a copy of a famous children's book by disgraced author Edith Twyford. Its margins full of strange markings and annotations. Wanting to know more, he took it to his remedial English teacher, Mrs. Alice, who believed that a secret code went through all of Twyford's novels, and when she disappeared on a class field trip, Smithy became convinced that she had been right. Now out of prison after a long stretch, Smithy decides to investigate the mystery that has haunted him for decades. And a series of voice recordings on an old iPhone from his strange adult son, Smithy alternates between visiting the people of his childhood, looking back on events that later landed him in prison. But it soon becomes clear that Edith Twyford wasn't just a writer of forgotten children's stories, as Miss Alice has said. The Twyford Code holds a great secret, and Smithy may have the key. And yeah, with this, we start a novel of him, like, he just got out of prison and is like, I guess, trying to start a new life. Like, he works in a booth at some trucking company, and he learned about the son he has, and kind of is trying to start a new life, like trying to form a relationship with this man. And the son, he doesn't really want anything to do with Stephen. He doesn't really want him in his life, but he's willing to, like, you know, make the occasional phone call and whatnot. And Stephen, who doesn't have a phone, well, his son gives him a phone, and we see how he starts these voice messages, and we learn more of his past, on how his mother shortly left the family shortly after he was born, and then his father, who was an alcoholic, also left the family, also abandoned Stephen to be raised by his older brother, who looked out for him, and who's 11 years older. So yeah, and we see, like, Stephen, like, he was placed in remedial English after a teacher brought him up to the front of the classroom and made him read something, and it's like, you're dyslexic. So yeah, one day, like, when he's on the bus, he finds the book, he didn't give it to his teacher, but he had it under the desk, and the teacher confiscated it, being like, "This is so simplistic language. It's so simple. It's so basic. Like, it's kind of like snobbery the way that the teacher says, like, the reason the book's banned is for this, and we need to learn for other reasons." But the way it was said, it's like that other children's books are more superior compared to this book, and I was just like, yeah. We later learned that the author was sexist, racist, xenophobia, the whole thing. So yeah, the teacher confiscated, and even though she claims it's simplistic writing, she starts reading it out loud in class. And one day she does take them on this field trip to Bournemouth, where the author resided during the Second World War, and took the class into the house to see where she wrote the book. And things get weird when the teacher doesn't show up, like, to take the bus home. Like, it's highly, like, not regarded, but it's like kind of hinted and kind of like other characters suspect that the teacher, like, she didn't ask permission from the school to take these kids on a field trip because she didn't know how to start a motor bus, and high likely if she did ask, like, for permission, someone would have told her to start a motor bus and whatnot. And yeah, she just disappears after this field trip, and no one's, like, memories of this time can be reliable because each character thinks it's something else, like, on how they got back to the school, like, oh, this happened, or this person drove us, or no, actually it's this. Like, it's just a lot of people are unreliable in it, and as well, like, in the memories of what actually happened, like, trying to put almost blame on someone else for events that occurred, and people not wanting to be recorded and wanting stuff hidden. Like, Donna's the one who is the one. Donna, another one of the classmates, I'm sorry, who was also in remedial English alongside Stephen. She claims that Miss Ellis told her about these secret codes and was investigating them, and that she found out someone kidnapped her, murdered her, and all that. But all that's mentioned is that Mrs. Ellis disappeared, and Stephen, after this, for some reason, he just stopped going to school. It's not, I don't think it's because of what happened, but because he did fall into the wrong crowd, and really, since he was a teenager, he's just been in and out of prison until this last time, where it seems like he was a member of this organization, of this crime family, and he thought he could trust them, and I mean, he wasn't really part of the family, so they placed all the blame on him for everything, and yeah, he ended up in prison for a long time. And yeah, we just see Stephen as he's trying to navigate this, and Stephen, who is dyslexic, like, he asks for help from this newly hired librarian who's quite young, and, like, she's not so, I guess, strict compared to her older counterpart. And she helps Stephen out with reading stuff online, and he'll claim, oh, I forgot my glasses, when really, like, he's dyslexic, and it's like he doesn't want to say he's dyslexic because she might look down on him for the fact he just cannot read or write, or it's just how his brain works, actually. And as well, he doesn't really know how to navigate this modern technology, like, showing that he might have been in prison for a long time because he's not sure how to use the phone to record. He doesn't know how to look back at the recordings. He doesn't know how to use the computer. Like, he's kind of useless with technology, which is something that I'm finding quite amusing. And yeah, so far I'm intrigued to see what has happened to this teacher, like, where she went. Was there an actual secret code that Edith put in her books, because these books were written and published during the Second World War, which is like, and there were apparently rumors that she and her husband might have been involved with something. So yeah, so far I would say there's a lot of intrigue on this case, and yeah. And I do have to say, there's a quote earlier that I really liked. I tabbed it. It says, On page 6 it says, verbally that is, I listen to what's said, not as hear. Listen. And I like that, because usually if we're having a conversation with someone, we hear stuff, like, but we don't listen, like, we don't let it sink in. It's like when we hear something, it goes in one ear and that's it. It's just noise essentially to us, but when we listen, we really take in what's being said, and that's just something I liked. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day and I've just done some cleaning and whatnot, and I just got back from a walk and it is definitely starting to feel like summer, which I am enjoying. So yeah. And I did do some reading of the Triforce Code, and I'm on page 146, and I'm having fun with this. I do like seeing that the different motivations characters have, or like trying to find this code and whatnot. We see with one end of that the new owner of the house that Edith Triforce lived in, like, he convinced Nathan and Michelle that the whole thing's a damn hoax, that there's no such thing, and afterwards, like, neither of them want anything to do with that. And one thing I'm liking is, like, the fact for Nathan and Michelle, like, they have stuff to lose, like, they do have a future, like, they have families and whatnot, so there is a future for them. While people for, like Stephen and Donna, like, they don't really have much of a future. Like, Stephen, with, like, the fact he just got out of prison and is trying to rebuild his life, and he doesn't see anything of his future. Like, he used to have a missus, but he told her to divorce her before, when he went to prison for this long stint. And with Donna, she did have a partner who moved to New Zealand, like, took their kid and went to New Zealand, and Donna just wasn't able to afford to go with them. So, speaking of which, Donna does show up again. Like, she was scared someone was following her, and so she hid, and she was following Stephen. Yeah. And they do go back to Backborn, and for Stephen, like, it's like we see he's kind of getting consumed by his case. Like, he knows he shouldn't go with Donna to Backborn, because he'll be missing work, he'll be missing classes, he'll be letting down his parole officer, who he's making these audio tapes for, and whatnot. And Stephen learns that the old teacher of his left his book with his brother, and he finds Colin, and he sees Colin hasn't been doing well. It seems like he's a hoarder and whatnot. But Colin doesn't know that Stephen is there for the book. He thinks that Stephen is there to confront him, because Colin has allowed Stephen to live in this fantasy for all of his life. Turns out their parents really didn't leave them, like, abandoned them for a different life. No, Colin killed their father, because he killed their mother because she had an abortion. Like, the father claims it was an accident, that the mother said she had an abortion while an argument, and it's because of his alcoholism. That's, like, she didn't want to bring a new life into this world with him. Yeah. And they're both buried in a place where they'll be just forgotten about. Like, no one they're there, and that's a bit sad. So, yeah, we see that. We also see how Stephen did leave Colin when he got really more into this crime family. Like, he felt like he was one of them. Like, he found this whole new family, like a father who actually taught him stuff, like how to put on a suit, how to tie a tie. Like, he found this new family, and that's when he completely abandoned Colin. And it's like when the family, like, it's passed on, like, the business from generation to generation, and none of the biological sons wanted, like, none of them had any kids of their own, and so the father of them, the patriarch of the family, just adopted a bunch of boys, including Stephen, and claimed that they're his sons now, is hoping for a new heir. And one son finally did give him an heir, and that's when things kind of started to fall apart for Stephen in the past. So yeah, it's like family issues do play a part in this book, which I just like seeing being explored by back to Donna and Stephen. Like we see, like it seems like someone's trying to stop them, a couple of someone's, because when they go to this abandoned airfield that their teacher took them to, they find this tunnel, and when they're in it, two people closed the doors, trapping them in there, and they only got out because a couple were also on their treasure hunt for a different thing. Find them, and it's like, this treasure hunt is to find the prize. Some children's book author put by putting like very depicted, not depicted, but very like, I guess not very specific or pictures in his book. It's quite vague. And someone already found this prize who they cheated their way, and these treasure hunters, like, they're doing this because they're in their 60s and they just want to avoid death. Like, they want to avoid the future of what will happen, and it's like, the reasons behind each person's motive is interesting, because they turn around like, oh no, she says she's done, she wants to go to her family after seeing this couple, like she doesn't want to be like them. And Stephen, he goes to Nathan and learns that Nathan was actually, like, Nathan and Michelle and the owner of the house, they've all been chasing down this Triforce code and trying to uncode it. And it's all like this specific chat room where if you know where to click, you'll get to this very specific chat room, and it's like, for everyone, it's this for fun, like it's nothing serious, it's something they do in their free time, and that pisses off Stephen, because for him it is quite serious, and that's when his kind of is consumed by this, because he does lose his job for missing work, and yeah, we just see that, and that's where I got to, was him losing his job, and what happens when there is a grandson born into the crime family he became a part of. So yeah, so far I'm just having fun with this. I like seeing the different like motivations between the characters, like actions, like how serious some people are taking it, how not so serious, how it's like some characters are doing it because they don't want to think of the future, like they're stuck in the past almost. Well, the characters, they do have a future, so it's like, I guess what's happening with each character, like the place they are in life, does affect them. So yeah, I think that's all for now, and I'll see So it's the next day, and it's quite a very warm day. It's like in the 90s, and my word, by 12 o'clock it was hot. Like it's starting to feel like summer, which I like. And as you saw, I did go out today. I took my mom to an appointment she had, and then we just went to this book sale that was in a town next to ours, and yeah, just hung out. I think did some shopping and walked a bit, and yeah, like, it's definitely that time of year where you would rather be inside in the air conditioning than outside in the heating. It was just, we're not built for this. I think neither of us, but yeah. And I did do some reading. I haven't done a lot. I might do some more today, but I just wanted to update now. And I'm on page 206 of the Triforce Code, and we really see how Lucy, the librarian who's been helping Stephen, how she kind of came involved in his investigation. Like, she's very much invested in it, very much curious about it. Like, she's just so, the way she talks, like, on our recordings, it's like she's excited, like, look at this new information I found. Like she's just interested, and because it's like, this is an interesting mystery to solve, and we continue seeing how for Stephen, he thinks it will bring him back to the past before everything went wrong in his life, before he really got caught up in this family, and it seems like generally believes it will turn back the clocks on a more, I guess, simpler time in his life. Yeah. Like we see how he thinks like time is involved in this, how maybe what Edith Twyford put in her books, like to on the code to solve, could lead to treasure, lead to gold, that might change things for him, the sense like it will improve his life. But he he has this idea that's like, because this gold apparently was gold that was in a Bank of England before it was shipped to another bank, hidden from it, and it was supposed to be shipped to Canada during the Second World War, and yet somehow the Germans found it and got to it. He thinks like, where's my notes? He thinks there's some sort of like time machine that was created by the Germans. He uses the word Nazis, and goes back to the past, like to restore your life with certain advantages. And that's what he thinks. He thinks he and Lucy have uncovered that this happened, and that the code with some words that Edith Twyford put in her book is a not algorithm, anagram, like where you take letters and switch up the order. Like they have to go find this goldfish, and they did, and it led them to a bank. So they think something happened with this gold, and that Edith Twyford was trying to talk about it in her book without compromising her husband's precision at his job, which was in the government. And Edith Twyford, thought that the gold that was supposed to be sent to Canada is simply lost, and she was trying to, I guess, assist people to have it found. Yeah. And we really continue seeing how Stephen, he is recalling the past, recalling like what happened with his missus when he was with her, how she tried to have him in a more legitimized position in the family, to so that the family could pay taxes for him, and that how things, I guess, fell apart when the patriarch of the family died, and really even before that, when he had epilepsy and was told by a doctor he couldn't drive, and then was told by another doctor he could, so Stephen's position so close to the family was no longer needed, and he was sent to work at the nightclub. So we start seeing how things change, and we also see how this is also affecting people who are not involved in this case, because Stephen, when he knew he went to the bank, he was ambushed in a bathroom by two men, and then he later goes to his brother's house to collect the book, and he sees that his brother's home is held hostage by so-called thieves, who they seem like men who just want use Colin to get to Stephen. So he's like, he thinks he simply chose this gold over the past over his family, and I'm curious if he will continue making choices that's against his family, against Colin, because he's made a choice to go with this other family who only saw him as a resource, and made him feel like he was part of the family, so that he wouldn't betray them, like, so that he would remain loyal. And I'm curious if he's gonna do the same thing again, or if he will choose Colin and try to save Colin in this situation. And really trying just to, I don't know, protect his life and whatnot. Like, I'm curious about if he's gonna start thinking of what the future holds, because they are using the fact like he was in prison, he lost his job because of this case to get to him. Like, they had someone call him about a check that he apparently earned from a housing agent, and them housing places like, we don't have a check, and it was like, it was just used to get him to a location so they could trail him. So a lot is being used against Steve and his current position in society, his brother, and it's like, when will he think enough is enough? So yeah, I'm very much intrigued to see how this mystery ends, and I think that's all for now. So if it wasn't obvious with my earlier clip, is I just woke up from a nap, and when I mentioned that I would go to a library book, so I had simply forgotten to bring the books that I bought today with me to the sunroom, and I did buy a few books. It's quite fantasy heavy, with like one more mystery that I haven't heard the best reviews of, but yeah, but I did get Half a Soul by Olivia Outwater. I believe this is about this girl who has half her soul taken by a fairy, and it leaves her with no sense of fear and embarrassment, and which causes her to be prone to scandal accidentally, and she is helping her cousin get into like society, and someone catches her eye and discovers her condition, and she's instead drawn into dangerous fairy affairs. So I'm curious about that. I also got The Last Heir to Blackwood Library by Hester Fox. This is about, with the stroke of a pen, 23-year-old Ivy Wycliffe becomes Lady Highworth, owner of a sprawling estate on the Yorkshire moors. Ivy has never heard of Blackwood Abbey or of the ancient bloodline from which she's descended. With nothing to keep her in London since losing her brother in the Great War, she rarely makes her way into her new home. The abbey is forbidden, the servants reserved and suspicious, but there is a treasure waiting behind locked doors, a magnificent library. Despite cryptic warnings from the staff, Ivy feels irresistibly drawn to its dusty shelves where familiar works mingle with strange, erotic text, and she senses something else in the library, a presence that seems to have a will of its own. Rumors grow in a village of the abbey's previous owners about ghosts and curses and enigmatic manuscript at the center of it all. As events grow more sinister, it will be up to Ivy to uncover the library's mysteries in order to reclaim her own story before it vanishes forever. I also got The Shadow of the Gods by John Grann. And this is about when gods thought it was about to so savage that destroyed themselves, leaving nothing but their bones and the broken land of Vigrid in their wake. Now as whispers of war echo over the forge and across the plains, fate follows in the footsteps of three warriors, a huntress on a curious quest, a noblewoman pursuing a fame, and a foe seeking retribution among the mercenaries known as Bloodworn. All three will change the course of the world as it will once more falls under the shadow of the gods. And last but not least is episode 13 by Greg Deleu. And this is about a ghost, the Paranormal Research Foundation, which is a crumbling Disney mansion which holds secrets and clues about bizarre experiments that took place there in the 1970s. It's also undoubtedly haunted, and Matt hopes to use scientific techniques and high-tech gear to prove it. But as the house begins to slowly reveal itself to the proof of an afterlife might not be everything Matt dreams of. So yeah, that's all the books in now. So it's the next day, and as you saw, I did go out today. I decided to run some errands and whatnot, and I decided, since it's a nice day, just to go for a bit of a walk in a park nearby. So yeah, and I did do some reading of the Trifork Code, putting me on page 274, and I'm definitely liking it. I'm definitely intrigued about aspects about this. We see how Lucy learns that with each, I guess, edition of the book, it was changed like in quite significant ways. Like character names are changed, and I guess for example, like instead of an airfield, it's an airport instead where the children go. Like it's more modern, made for often more modern audience for them to really understand. And the rewritten part is this. I would say it's more simplified than the older version. Yeah, but she thinks it's like whoever is doing it, like the publisher or someone, did it to change the code and whatnot, and we update the code. So, and we learn that it's not really anyone from the publisher. It is someone from the Twyford estate who is behind it, and Stephen, he does try and go to Nathan with this, and Nathan's like, no, like, Nathan is very determined to keep this separated from his real life. Like, it's like, for some, it's like, and for him, it's like a game he plays. And we do learn, and earlier in the novel, Stephen, he went talk to someone who's an expert on 19th century children's literature, who he claims it's more like the Edith Twyford expert, but who knows about the code, knows about like Operation Fish, how Edith Twyford was involved. Operation Fish was like this hoax from the British government during the Second World War to kind of let the Germans let their guard on so they can attack, except things went a bit wrong in the sense gold was moved, but somehow the gold was lost, and the British, like, they can admit the fact that they lost gold, because then they would have to admit it, but the whole operation is operation that so few people knew about. So, the only people who knew was like the Twyfords, and both of them died before they were able to tell anyone where it was. So yeah, we see that, and how someone from the estate might be responsible for it. Well, not responsible for it, might be responsible for telling the clues. I'm curious to see how that goes. Like, where is the gold? And we also finally get answers on what happened to the teacher, on how it seems like Stephen might have, like, his mind changed details or blocked details to protect himself from. After the class left the Twyford house, the teacher did take them to some sort of field for them to like run off energy before going back on a bus. And the kids, like, they, minus Stephen, who went back onto the bus just to chill for a bit and cool down because he just didn't have much energy, they decided to sneak up behind the teacher while she was off guard and scare her unknowingly, not knowing that she was standing above this trap door, which she fell into, and it closed behind her. And they were scared kids, and they were scared what would happen to them. Like, they're inner city kids. There is, I guess, a stigma against them, like, because like they are a certain way. So and they just didn't say like what happened to the teacher. Like, they didn't tell anyone. Like, many of them do remember like what happened, but Stephen, I guess, like, allowed his memory to be rewritten, almost like to forget details, which I do like. And yeah, everyone moves on with their life and I guess goes their own ways for now. And I also like with this last job, we finally get details on like what happened. It seems like there was tension with one of the sons in the family who took over the business after the father died. Tension between him and between him and Stephen after Stephen's Mrs. demanded like he was paid properly, like he was treated like a proper member and treated like put in more legitimized legal position. That pissed him off. And during this final job, Stephen was paired with one of the brothers, John, I think it is, yeah, who he happened to look a lot alike of. A lot, yeah. John, like, the family had a rule not to use substance at all, like, that they were something. Except John was using the substance, and he was high on a job, like, this final big job. He was very jittery about, very nervous about, and he just didn't really do what he was supposed to do, and it caused, and they decided to kill him and forced Stephen to kind of take his place. Like, he told everyone, oh yeah, Stephen's dead, he was a traitor and all that. Like, it's like to boot Stephen out of the company and without the worry that he's gonna use the information he knows to go to the competition and give them the details. Like, kind of we are seeing like how Stephen, he had to run from everything he ever knew. He couldn't go to his missus. He had to be on his own, like completely alone with like. During this final mission, they found gold when they weren't expecting it. And I thought it was like the gold from that was part of Operation Fish, and he just didn't know what to do with it. And he did get arrested because the rest of the family got arrested, and he was on his phone like something to cover up like their actual actions to protect the family, and just like let him take the fall for everything, because they're not gonna, like, Andy's not gonna admit that he killed his own brother. So yeah, it's just like a lot of family stuff, a lot of stuff about like reflecting the past. And yeah, I was curious with the fact we got many answers, like where does this go from here, like, because I do have about 50 pages left. I'm just curious on like what happens now. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and as you saw, I did go out today. The town next to mine was holding this huge like flag show event, and I went there and I just got a couple bits and pieces. I got a new lantern which will replace the one that's currently on my bookshelf upstairs, so I don't really know if you'll be seeing that. My ones there up from now on. And yeah, and I also just got a box just to hold some bits and pieces in. Yeah, I also went on a walk and went some errands before the rain came down, and it did drizzle on and off all day, but when I got home it was like a downpour. So, and I did finish the Twyford Code, and I liked it. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. From where I left off yesterday, something happens. Stephen goes missing, and he's taken, and he gives his phone to Lucy, who records the information she learned about their expert, who happens to be the granddaughter that Edith Twyford's husband had from his first marriage through a son. And this woman is like the one who's making the changes to the books, controlling the code, like she's the one who controls the estate and whatnot. And Lucy believes that the gold could be cursed, like the gold, silver, and gemstones found in Egyptian tombs. Like how each person who found and took them, they shortly died afterwards, and who it seems like Lucy is like events happen differently to how Stephen told them to what she witnessed. Like she did listen to all of his recordings, and Stephen was like, he was kidnapped, taken by these people. His friend Paul saved him and whatnot. When it's like, it's like, actually, when we finished up with the Triford expert, you went into your friend Paul, who was like, hey, you want to meet up with some of our school friends? I'll give you a ride. And Stephen was like, yeah. So yeah, that happened, and someone kidnaps Lucy as she's in a park and thinking they could use her to break Stephen, they think like he loves her when she knows he doesn't love her, like they're mere acquaintances. And yeah, like, and Lucy, it allows her, she's kept in this dark room, and it allows her to think like that there is no hidden gold like missing after this Operation Fish mission. It's the gold they're looking for is the one that Stephen took when he went on the one after that heist, that last job. And he mentioned like in his last entry, like he had two things that kept him going since his release: Andy and his son Little H, and it's again his revenge on them. The last we hear from either of them is when Lucy says that Stephen wasn't following the Triford code. He was, and breaks off, and we later learn that he was creating it for his son to solve. And his son was given like transcripts of the audio files from like this police officer who was investigating like the case like, of Stephen and Lucy going missing, and the son is like, yeah, he learns a bunch of stuff. Like, the son is trying to help find his biological father. He's doing it mainly out of regret. As he told him he would call him when he was ready to form a relationship with him, and when he wasn't ready at all. And he thinks it's too late now. He does learn that the files does contain and cover him to solve, and the father's old school friends were involved in helping his father disappear after he got his revenge. Like, he does learn a lot, and he somehow learns that there's no Lucy at all, that his father just happens to be a very good intimidator, and intimidated her voice, and that people weren't who they were. And it seems like we don't know what actually happened to the teacher, how she wasn't killed, but it was this Stephen like created that scenario in his head because she left the school to take a new position at another school, and he felt she was abandoning him. Like, he lost his father, his mother abandoned him. It seems like he was highly neglected by his brother Colin. So it's like he's losing another parental figure, and his brain just couldn't handle that, which is heartbreaking, really. Yeah. And as well, this is so Stephen, he was addressing the audio files to someone named Maxan. His son's name is Max Ian. His first middle name is Max Ian. Maxan. Yeah, he was looking for clues in the book, and since like with the son figuring out like what he's gonna do next, like he's not gonna go looking for the treasure immediately, and he gives a warning to the reader who might have this file, and like if it is in our hands, it's in the wrong hands. And yeah, overall I enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars, and yeah, I think that's it. And yeah, that's also the end of this video. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below telling me what you've been up to recently. If you want to, please subscribe to this channel. If you want to follow me on any social media, I don't know, those links are on the down bar below. I'll see you guys next time I post a